Sports Show. Palmer stepping away at first. Palmer extending the play. Crosses the field. Larry Fitzgerald. Fitzgerald is going to take it into Green Bay territory. The show exclusively known as the voice of the Arizona Cardinals fan club, the Bird Gang. Now with your host, Earl Burnett, a.k.a. Casual E.
Bird Gang on 3. 1, 2, 3.
All right, Bird Gang. We got a little bit distracted. Welcome to another edition of the Kazual Sportz Show. And I know you know the distraction is the Suns winning a game tonight.
All it took was for us to get back on air, man.
I couldn't take my eyes off the TV, get all the stuff prepped up. Like, okay, we'll forget that tonight. They about to get this win, dude. So it took over everything else. But welcome again, Bird Gang, Suns Nation, all the fans out there to another edition of the Kazual Sportz Show. I am Earl Burnett, your host, and my co-host, of course, the one and only Sean McConnell. What's up, man?
Man, it is good to finally have a snapped losing streak. I don't care about the wins and loss column right now. I just care about the morale, and they can finally celebrate. And what a great place to celebrate in Miami. It's a great place to be.
Exactly. So that's got to be a good thing for Tyler Johnson coming in there, getting a win against his old team.
I am slowly liking his game more and more. Like how
he
vocal he is.
Taking him some time to get adjusted to this new team and these young players and how inconsistent they are. He has to know that stuff. He's kind of like letting that work into his game. Like, okay, wow, these dudes is like they don't know what it means to win. So he's kind of trying to figure it out himself.
Well, I don't know that he knows what it means to win either. I mean, but he did have a good game. 18 points, of course.
He knows how to win.
18 points, 4 assists. Obviously, we all know he's not the passing type point guard that we're all hoping for, but he's definitely a good player, a scrappy player, and I'm happy to see him on this team.
Yeah, him being under Eric Spoelstra, I think he's got some type of winning pedigree somewhere. At least know how to scrap and not give up.
Maybe. Maybe.
But it took him some time to get going. Everybody thought he was going to come in there and stink it up and suck because his first couple of games weren't all that great. But
he can play.
Coming to a new team, I mean, new players, new teammates, new coaching staff, new philosophy, new everything. It's going to take a little bit of time to gel, and I was giving him that anyway, so I wasn't really worried about it. But I'm glad he's starting to get his game going.
For sure.
All right, man. So that was pretty exciting, even though it is just our 12th win of the season. But hey, we'll
sounds
take
so bad.
Because you're right. I think you're right. You hit it on the nail with the morale and all that stuff in the locker room. This will start to help build up to that. Hey, we can win. They were down in this game a couple of times by double digits, so they did keep fighting.
Yeah, you have to look at the wins that they do have, right? Because you already know that they're a bottom of the barrel team in this league, and the wins that they do have, not just the box score, but you have to look at the overall performance of those games. The games that they won were games that kind of raised my eyebrow a little bit. The ones that I was actually there to sit down and watch, not just like the highlights of, but some of those games are games that they had to fight for it.
Right.
And I mean, a lot of those games are kind of like that. Some of them, they do get caught in the trap. The other teams do get caught in the trap, and the Suns can take advantage of that. But a lot of those games have been relatively close and games that they had to gut out and win. And there's also been games that they've had to lose really close as well. And I think as much as it sucks and as hard as it is to deal with as a player, we'll probably get into the whole DeAndre situation in a little bit. But as hard as that is to deal with, some of these wins and losses, I think, are actually very good for these guys. And I think in the long run, it's going to do them a world of justice.
Yeah, it's been a while since we even seen them in a game this close.
Yeah.
To where they're actually having to fight and keep fighting and keep fighting. They haven't been there because of all the change and all the things that have happened. The rotations haven't been the same. They've been switching guys in and out trying to find some type of rhythm. And so the losing starts to take over in your mind, especially when you hear that Booker hasn't won a game since December.
No.
And that you can only win when he's off the court.
That's not good.
It kind of played that way a little bit tonight because it was like they were struggling. And he got in foul trouble and they took him out the game and they make a run. It's like they just play better with him off the court for some reason.
Booker had 18 and 9.
Exactly. But then, of course, we know that's not the case. They have to have him out there. But
What are
Maybe
your
they can
thoughts on this?
get back in the mode of knowing how to be in a close game first, just to know how to keep fighting in a game, and that's going to help them a little bit. I hope.
What are your thoughts on this? You think Igor saved himself the rest of the season by this win? You think he bought himself time?
He, I don't. I was talking to my man Paul Richardson, PLR, down at the game at the ASU game last night, and he made a good point to me. They're not going to have they can't fire him. So
you don't think so?
He's going to be there next year regardless.
Why is that?
Me personally, I think Igor is an excellent X and O's guy for an assistant coach.
Of course.
I think he should be he's got assistant coach written all over him. I mean, he head coach, he's learning, and he has a long way to go.
A very long way.
Now, no, he's not the guy to get them over this losing, and because it takes his coaching his players are going to take after him.
But you don't think he's going to take a demotion?
Huh?
You don't think he's going to take a demotion, right? And just be like, okay, someone else can coach?
No, I don't think that. If he goes, he goes. I don't think he's going to take no demotion at all. I think he's going to go somewhere. He can go somewhere else and be an assistant coach. Anybody will pick him up in a flat heartbeat to be an assistant coach.
So why keep him?
That's what I'm saying. Right now, they could be. You never know. They could be thinking about getting rid of him.
I thought if they were to lose tonight, I think he would have been gone.
Well, tonight was. I mean, you can't say, "Oh, that they won because of Igor."
No, they didn't. Obviously, they didn't. There's no way that they did.
I mean,
but I do think if they would have lost, he would have been the one out.
Right, but he's starting to do some things to try to fight for his job a little bit more. He got the technical the other night, finally, and now he's starting to try to, change a few things up with the rotation. He put the starting lineup is a little bit different, and maybe that's going to help. But I think his problem is, he's supposed to be this X's and O's guy, but in the crunch time and in crucial moments of a game, you got to demand the ball to go inside out, and they don't. He doesn't do that.
I don't even think that has to be crunch time. I think that has to be all the time.
Period.
You don't have a today's NBA center. You have an 80s NBA center that's just really skinny in DeAndre. His game is not a today's center. He can shoot, yes. He can shoot outside a little bit, yes. But that's not where we need him right now. We need him inside, and his system doesn't have him flourishing on the inside.
That's so true.
There was one crucial bucket down there where Tyler Johnson finally found DeAndre.
Barely saw him,
but it was barely.
Booker threw it to him first.
And Booker looked and didn't do it.
Right. Booker should have threw it to him the first time.
Those passes need to be without hesitation. Once you hesitate, the defense sets back up. And that's the biggest problem for the Suns is that they don't know how to use a traditional center. Back when I was playing in high school, back in my day, if I didn't get the ball to my buddy Nick, I was running gassers at practice the next day.
Yeah. And if I didn't get it to my big man that was scoring like we scored in high school, I was sitting down too. So, that's the game I remember. That's the game. Today's game, I don't even know how we call this basketball anymore. Because I was at the game last night again, like I said, with Paul, kicking it with Paul and watching the game. And I know y'all probably heard it up there on the Facebook Live at halftime. They had some junior high school kids out there playing the game, and not one kid was ready to pass the ball. All of them was dribbling outside and shooting threes. All of them. Boom, boom, boom. Three. Pass it, somebody wide open under the basket. Shoot three. I'm like, that's today's game. Today's generation sees that being the game, and that is just horrible to me. It's sad. Big men are like, what am I supposed to do? I can't go snatch the ball, dribble it up, turn around, throw it over my head, run down in the post and grab it and get it to myself. Like, I can't do that. So it's oh man, it's so hard to watch sometimes, man. This team, the Suns, and correct me if I'm wrong. Maybe I'm just seeing something that, maybe it's just my own bad eyes or whatever you want to call it. But this team takes way too many bad shots.
Oh, of course.
Oh, my God. I'm sitting there watching this game. I'm going, okay, when does the ball play inside out rather than perimeter, shoot three?
I wouldn't even say that. I would say 80 to 90% of those shots are dribble pull-up. They dribble the ball and then they pull up. It's
one-on-one.
It's one-on-one. It's the first. It's without a pass. It's the first thing that the offense does.
Right.
I'm okay with passing around the perimeter and then taking the open shot. Sometimes that's a bad shot, of course. You should get the ball inside, but they don't. So
Right.
that's their problem. But just
Exactly.
dribbling down and pulling up just because you think it's a heat check, you guys don't have the credibility to start doing heat checks. I don't care if you're in the Garden and scoring 70, Booker.
Right.
No heat checks.
Right.
Just play the system.
We saw this team way back in Summer League when we were out there in Vegas, remember?
Yep.
In Summer League.
I don't remember anything from Vegas.
They were having issues with entry passing inside, and they still are
having it.
In the post area all night tonight. Float over top. And they just cannot get all into Aiden. So then they stop doing it. If they say, I can't get it in, so I'm just going to shoot it.
Yeah.
It's like practice has to be, we're practicing entry passing. I remember when I was in high school, if we couldn't get a pass, we would do that in practice, practicing entry passing all the time.
30 minutes, an hour, however long it takes.
Yeah, and if you turned it over, push-ups. If you turned it over, gasser.
Yeah.
This is all a coaching thing, man. Igor has to find a way to get up under these guys' skin and get them to react to his voice. Because I don't think they're reacting to him.
Well, of course not.
To a point. Because the passiveness and the being quiet and all that, I think all the players have kind of looked past that now. They don't see him hardly anymore. His voice doesn't have a say-so hardly.
And, I think it affects DeAndre the most because DeAndre's the one that needs that fire the most. We need him to be a little bit more physical around the boards. It's not, he's naturally a physical presence, but we need him to be one of those enforcers where guys are scared to approach him.
Right.
And with a coach like that, you kind of model that personality after a while. And
exactly.
Going back to
the coach.
Going back to what we were saying about all the threes that were throwing up, it's even more impressive to me about how many double-doubles DeAndre's had when the primarity, how am I even saying that? The majority of his points are coming from putbacks.
Right.
It's not like they're just direct passes that are being assisted. He's getting most of those off of rebounds. And that's even more impressive to me because if he's getting another 10 points off of entry passes, which is just 5 passes, if I'm doing the math right, he's looking at more like 25 to 30 and 10 a game.
Right. And then they wonder why he gets lackadaisical in games or gets disinterested in games or loses his focus in games. And Aiden's not doing anything. He's just sitting there and letting people lay it up. Well, he's probably not focused because he's not even involved in the game plan.
Yeah, it's the basketball equivalent to Patrick Peterson never getting a pass thrown his way.
Exactly.
You get bored after a while.
Pretty much. But, man, what do you think, sticking on this Suns thing, since we started Suns tonight because it was, winning the game is like, man, that's like big news around here.
Yeah.
So what do you think the relationship between Booker and Aiden looks like to you? Just from an eye standpoint, does it look like they are meshing at all? Does it look like they're kind of like just two separate people, like doing their own two separate things?
It does seem like they're separated. I think that they're still filling each other out. They're still trying to figure out. Honestly, I think they're trying to figure out who's going to be the alpha dog.
Right.
And I think DeAndre's trying to push for that a little bit. He's getting a lot more vocal about being upset. Obviously, there's that whole Twitter issue. Have you heard about the Twitter issue? All right, we'll get into that later. I won't spoil it now, but he's getting a little bit more vocal, and I think the only way that he's going to try and push for that is by physically pushing more people around and being more of that kind of guy.
More demanding.
I don't think that there's any tension between the two of them. I think there's just this learning curve because Booker was kind of carrying for so long. I think he's just kind of struggling with what to do with an actual sidekick, an actual equivalent player.
Even being at a game or even watching on television, I kind of watch their mannerisms. I kind of watch how they interact with each other. All the players. I try to watch how they are they really together or are they just kind of going through the motions? And a lot of the times you can see the barely shake your hand or tap your hand because it's just basketball protocol. I'm supposed to tap you on the butt at the free throw line. Or I'm supposed to, but do you really see relationships forming? And I don't see that hardly.
Not between those two.
Between those two, you want those two guys because they're going to be your A and B punch regardless of what order to come in, they're going to be your 1 and 2. So those two guys, they don't have to like each other off the field or court, but they have to play together. And I don't see them playing together.
Right. Even Shaq and Kobe would embrace.
Exactly.
Even
And
Charles and KJ would embrace.
Exactly.
And those four all hated each other.
Right. Exactly.
You know, I mean, so even on the court, there would be signs of camaraderie. I wouldn't say signs of affection because I mean it's basketball. There's signs of camaraderie, and they don't have that right now. But I would say Jamal Crawford's been a guy that's been trying to teach that or try to show that, because what's happening now in these young players in the NBA is they're not building relationships on teams. They're there for a year in college. They're there for high school and transferring high schools to get to the best feeder school into a college. So there's really no roots. Where you've had some of these guys like I would say like the LeBron era of players in the NBA that had AAU where they were all together and it wasn't like they were bouncing around. These guys now are bouncing around so much that it's hard to actually, I think, put these roots in.
That's true. And now they also have the option of saying, I'm going to go orchestrate where I want to play next anyway. But I look at Booker and I go, you've been here already. He has to be the one to pull that relationship in.
Yeah.
He has to be the one. And I look at him on the court and it seems like he doesn't do a lot of encouraging the rest of the players.
Yeah.
It's like, dude, you're the hey, you have to be the rah-rah guy. You have to be the, hey, let's go and get a huddle together. I don't see this team do any of those things. And get together on the court. Hey, you do so and start orchestrating, getting those guys to trust in you. Right now, he looks like he's an individual trying to do individual things and trying to be the man himself instead of saying, let me pull this team together. And that's what makes a superstar. Yeah. Can you get a team to play together and make them better?
I always like to correlate basketball and football together, especially locally, because we have a lot of polarizing history. Larry Fitzgerald is a guy that he likes to emulate.
Okay.
They both are kind to lead by example, right? Mm-hmm. But Larry, on the sidelines, is constantly talking to his teammates, at least as far as the wide receiver room goes, the quarterbacks, the tight ends, etc. He's constantly talking to them and helping them through certain things. And sometimes, he is pounding on his chest and doing those things. And I think this is Booker's biggest need. Exactly. It's not anything on the X's and O's. It's nothing to do with his shooting ability or his percentage. Those are going to fluctuate, obviously, with injuries and things like that. But it's the ability to lead, to truly lead.
That's it.
It's one thing to be told you're a leader of this team and you're the guy. It's another thing to lead the team. Because right now it looks like Jamal Crawford's leading the team.
Exactly. I agree with that 100%. That is dead spot on. It's a big difference for just saying you're a leader and actually doing it on the floor and actually doing the things that are outside of your game. We know your game is good. We're not questioning that. We're questioning, okay, you just want this snap quick in a hurry. Y'all just follow me and it's all supposed to just fall together. No, you got to be the one to show them how to do it. You have to be the one.
I think that's why Crawford's presence is so valuable right now. It's not we didn't bring him in because he's a 40-year-old superstar. I mean, he's not. We brought him in, I think, because he's been around the block several times, backwards and forwards, and he knows how this game works. And I think that's definitely the value that we've seen in him. Bringing in more guys like Ryan Anderson, which that might not have worked out so much, but definitely Jamal Crawford. And they thought the same with Trevor Ariza, and we need more of that because Booker definitely needs to learn that. And it's gonna. I don't think it's gonna happen overnight. It's gonna take time.
Of course.
But there also has to be some success to rejuvenate this energy because he's been losing so much that it's just kind of hard to find that passion, honestly.
That's a good point. Yeah, they have to start winning something, or at least have a consistent fight of, okay, we lost one tonight, we won another one, another two, lost one. It has to be a balance of the wins and losses.
Right.
But they're having a tough time. What about, okay, let's go forward to let's fast forward to the off season because we know it's fast coming.
Mm-hmm.
That is right around the corner for this team, and they could end up probably the number 1, 2, or 3 in the picking the draft. I mean, as far as the draft goes, they could be the 1 or 2 or 3 picking in the draft. Do you think James Jones is the man to make those picks or to make whatever is going forward? Is he the man, or do the Suns go ahead and do it all over again and bring another guy in?
I'll answer that question with one question.
What's that?
What pick do we have?
Exactly. So
If we get the first pick,
I'm going to say, let's say, hypothetically speaking, that the NBA is rigged, and
New York
teams
gets it
are down like this. They end up getting the first pick 2 times in a row, like the Cleveland Cavaliers did a few years ago, like Philly did a couple of times down. So let's say the Suns get the first pick.
okay, then I will tell you. I don't have my YouTube clips pulled up for you because I would have pulled up the Rock right here. It doesn't matter who's picking the picks. If you got the first pick, it does not matter. Everyone knows who you're taking number 1.
Exactly.
What I see is number 2 and 3. That's the harder choice.
Right.
And do I think James Jones can do it? Sure, I think James Jones can do it. I am hopeful that he can draft well. At this point, we just need one more young guy. We might not even need a young guy. Right now, we need more veteran leadership, more guys that can do things. So I like his ability to do that because he's been in the game. Players respect him. But the overlying problem is Arizona does not have a good reputation right now in basketball. It's been ruined ever since you know who's gotten there. And it's not going to change until you know who is gone or at least done meddling in the company. And you know who I'm talking about.
Yes, I do know who you're talking about. I was talking about that same situation last night with Paul, and he was saying the exact same thing. It's not going to happen. Sorry, folks.
Nope, we're not going to get any big fish anytime soon.
Huh?
No big fish anytime soon. That guy's scared them all away.
Exactly. So let's say, we're going to take a break here in a minute, but let's say you're taking another young guy. Let's say and the only time I would say you take another young guy is if you have the first pick, like you were saying. If you get the first pick, of course, you're taking another young guy. Is Igor the coach for this young guy that's coming in with this team and going forward? Is he the coach that's going to maximize all the potential in all these young kids, because he's holding Aiden back?
Yeah.
Let's just be forward. He is holding Aiden's skill set and his everything that he could be to a point is being a little bit hindered by Igor's philosophy. And he's like, Igor's philosophy is not to get the ball inside. So is he the coach going forward for say like a Zion Williamson? Is Igor the coach for that type of guy?
Zion, to me, he's different than DeAndre coming into the game. I think Zion, you kind of just let him run and just let him be himself. Whereas DeAndre, you need to kind of build a little bit of an offensive structure around him. Zion, I look at him as like our fast break specialist. If we get him, I'm already talking like we have him. I'm so hopeful for it. But Booker's your scoring bunches type. Zion would be your slasher, the type to just run the fast break, and then DeAndre would be your scrappy guy down low that's getting all the rebounds, all the rebounds and putbacks. But to answer your question, do I think Igor is the coach? I think short term, yes. I am super hopeful to look at this situation the same way that the Warriors built theirs. Steve Kerr wasn't the coach in the beginning. We all know how that went down with Mark Jackson. Mark Jackson was a great coach. He got them so far. Right. And then after a while, it didn't work. I think if you're going to buy into this and you don't want to keep paying off all these coaches' salaries that you keep firing, then you keep Igor for 2 or 3 more years. You let him establish the system. The system isn't necessarily a bad system. It needs a tweak. It needs DeAndre involved more.
Correct.
So if you can find a way to work that in, I think you can have more success. I'm not saying you're getting in the playoffs.
Okay, what's the difference between Steve Wilkes and Igor right now? The difference, there's no difference, because remember, we all got really hard on Steve Wilkes because of what? No results. No results. No improvement. When you look at this Suns team, they are digressing, and there is no improvement, and they're getting worse.
Hey, man, we just beat the Miami Heat.
We beat the Miami Heat tonight.
Not one, not two.
With some grit from probably, 2 or 3 players that got us over the hump, which is cool. But still, the progress have we seen. 12 wins, man. 12 wins out of 60, what, 3 games, 62 games that we got so far. That's not improvement.
No, I agree with you. I'm not saying that Igor is the coach to be, Phil Jackson for 12 years. He's not. He's not. I'm saying
Everybody has to have a start, I know, but
I'm
man.
saying you either get rid of him after this season or tomorrow, whatever it is, or you give him a couple years. Don't do this 2-year stuff because then the players get comfortable.
Correct.
And then you uproot them. You might as well just do it while they're uncomfortable.
Okay, so if you keep James Jones, remember, Igor wasn't his guy.
Right.
Igor was not his guy. So
I would be very interested.
If you give that job to James, and he's just happened to say, you know what? I want a guy in here that's got a little bit more credibility, that can get in, that's a voice in this in the locker room, or a voice for this team that players are going to respond to.
I got a name for
my guy in. He may not want Igor. How do we know that?
Oh no, I don't think that's too far off.
About the other big guy they got to get around first.
I'm thinking about that, but you said big voice, and all I could think of was the biggest voice in the basketball game right now.
Oh, in the basketball game, or off the court, or on the court?
Off the court. What's the biggest voice you could think of?
You talking about somebody's father?
I'm talking about somebody's father.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. Hey, but we're going to take a quick break, and we're going to come back, and we're going to get into our Cardinal talk. And we probably jump back on the Suns a little later, or maybe some D-backs. I don't get into the baseball thing as much, but we got to start doing some D-backs because our show is going to be covering the D-backs this year, and we got to get a little bit more involved. So we bring a lot of baseball guys in throughout the season and letting them do the talking and that type of thing. But we're going to take a quick break.
You just sit back with your Cracker Jacks.
Exactly. And just interject every once in a while.
He swung real good.
Exactly. You're listening to the Kazual Sportz Show. Earl Burnett, Sean McConnell, and we are on KSRN, Kazual Sports Radio Network. Go ahead and join us, www.ksrnaz.com. And go ahead and subscribe, too, because that's where you get the show and all the content that's on KSRN Network, which is actually really good content. You guys need to keep listening. And we're going to take a quick break, and we will be right back.
Maduro's Fine Cigars and Tobacco, located at 4991 South Alma School in Chandler, is the new standard of excellence in the cigar lounge industry. From aficionado to novice smokers, Maduro's has something for everyone. From cigar events, pipe club, live music, and ladies' night, the monthly event calendar is loaded with entertainment options. Come tour the impressive 500-square-foot humidor and sample some of the finest cigars from around the world. Maduro's has 96 private lockers in the clubhouse, another 75 in the humidor. Membership is $300, which includes 10% off all your purchases. For hours and event information, visit MaduroSticks.com. That's MaduroStix. Or call 480-883-8888. Maduro's, the official hotline sponsor and cigar lounge of the Easy Sports Talk Show. Time to get your sticks and light them up.
This is Jay from The Focus with Jay Adams. I want to tell you about my friends at Majestic Services. Are you a homeowner? When was the last time you had your awnings cleaned? What about the oil stains in your driveway? Majestic Services has you covered. They're your pressure washing and window cleaning experts. With over 11 years of experience, they'll provide you with a free, no-obligation quote for your awnings, patio blinds, sidewalks, garage floors, driveways, and housepads. You take care of your car by washing it, right? Well, the outside of your house gets dirty too. So whether concrete, brick, stone, asphalt, stucco, pool decks, and more, Majestic Services will remove dirt, oil, bird droppings, grease, and more. Give Matt a call at 602-881-8228. That's 602-881-8228. Commercial or residential, valley-wide. Let Majestic Services do your dirty work. 602-881-8228.
KSRN has the inside track on all things sports, with topics and opinions from former players and local personalities. Catch 15-year NFL veteran Ed Smith and Jay Adams on Easy Sports Talk every Saturday.
Unfortunately, with this back and these knees, I don't quite have that ability, or at least I used it.
For all things Arizona Cardinals, tune in Monday nights with Casual E and Sean McConnell.
Bird game. I know it was a
Exclusively listen to former Arizona Cardinal Jeremy Bridges on his show, JB and Benny Blue Review.
Exactly. Sending a message out to the world.
Always playing that message.
Yeah. Yes, your guy, Benny Blue, comedian extraordinaire.
Exclusively on KSRN, Kazual Sportz Radio Network.
KSRN.
The exclusive voice for all fan clubs and the community.
And welcome back into the Casual House, Bird Gang, Suns Nation, and all of the fan clubs around the valley. Earl Burnett, Sean McConnell.
Yeah.
We are live here from the Kazual Sportz Studios, two Kazual Sportz Studios.
We're in the same place.
Where you can hear all of the content that we have for about your Suns, Cardinals, and etc. So, Cardinals. We didn't get a chance to do a show last week for some reasons unknown.
We always have our reasons. We always got something.
Bad. No, just kidding. But we didn't get a chance to talk a little bit about the newcomers that the Cardinals signed. Robert Alford and, of course, Brooks Reed.
Mm-hmm.
Good signings. I think these are solid signings. Maybe not. There's no evidence showing us right now that they're the answers to, of course, especially that piece that's across from Patrick Peterson.
We've always been excited. I just interrupt you real quick. We've always been really excited about the next cornerback. It feels like every year since Antonio Cromartie came in and surprised us. Because everyone's like, oh, Antonio Cromartie, that's kind of interesting. He's kind of old. Like, we'll see how it works out. And then it surprised us. And then we had this whole big, jump in expectations where it's like, oh, why can't we have this? Why can't we have this?
Right.
And what surprised me the most was Patrick recruited him himself.
Oh, really? See, that's news to me. I didn't know that.
I mean, I wouldn't say he did all the work, but he was, after the game, talking to him, always texting him, telling him, hey, come on out. That speaks a lot more than the whole I want out trade stuff. I mean, I think he really just flipped the switch and just kind of threw that baggage out the train, and he's just full steam ahead. So I like that.
Well, Patrick has a lot of making up to do still. He still got to.
You're like that jealous girlfriend that's like you still can't get over it, holding it over his head.
You got to earn it back. You got to earn it back. But
you got to earn my trust.
Let's go back because when the season ended, myself included, and a lot of the fans out there, the Bird Gang, everybody was calling for Steve Keim's head. Everybody. What do you and I posed a question back then? What does he have to do to get off the hot seat? How does that season next year have to look for him to get off the hot seat? And has this offseason started him on the right path to getting off that hot seat?
I think the aggressiveness has pacified some fans. I would say some, not all. There's a couple things that I think he could do that would surprise a lot of fans. It could piss a lot of fans off, obviously. He can go a lot of ways with this. Obviously, taking Kyler Murray would be something that could surprise and actually make a lot of fans happy, even though you and I definitely don't agree with that. No. I can already tell you that right now. That I already know we don't agree with that.
Oh, we don't agree with that.
But he could also make some fans happy by not doing that, trading the first pick and getting a gang of picks back. Then we're talking in just players here. C.J. Mosley. If the Cardinals could go after C.J. Mosley.
I heard a lot of talk about that. If
that could
happens,
work.
Wow.
Pro Football Focus of Arizona Cardinals says upcoming free agent C.J. Mosley will probably be a target for the Cardinals once free agency begins. Some of his career highlights: he's 26. He's only making $8 million last year. He's got a grade of 73.6, and he's a really good run stopper. So that's a player that you could go after.
To the point where, of course, they have to match it, or is it just flat out free agent? He can be signed with anybody.
Don't know if he's restricted. Okay. Another player.
Signing. Oh, that would be an excellent signing.
That'd be a great signing.
But here's my thing. They're signing all the pieces, and you can see a bit. You know, a lot of the pieces that they need are starting to come in. You know, these pieces, but the main piece. If you don't have these main pieces, what does it matter? Where is the offensive line going to come from? Where is a how do you put it? A consistent healthy offensive line going to come from? Because this team usually gets their offensive lineman in the free agency, and they usually
Right.
bring in a guy that's either injury prone or on his way out of his prime and into his ready to retire years.
And
So
that,
where are they going to get those guys that are going to keep Josh Rosen upright and allow that running game to do what the running game is going to do?
well, I have bad news for you. It's not coming from the draft.
It sure isn't. I agree with you.
It's probably the weakest offensive lineman draft, I think, in a while, which is just
100%.
terrible timing for the Cardinals. And I wouldn't blame Keim on that one. I would blame him for past drafts where he's passed up on certain players.
Correct.
Looking at basically all of the Cowboys linemen that they drafted, those were definitely on the board when we wanted to pick.
Right.
So he's gonna have to just try and take one or two in free agency, hope for the best, and sometimes with an offensive line, they may not all be Pro Bowlers, but if they can gel and play together and stay healthy,
Correct.
that's usually all that matters. Usually.
How high do you draft one though?
I wouldn't,
especially this draft. You talking what? 4th, 5th round type? I mean, the same way they did with Mason Cole.
if we can offload the first round pick and move down and get maybe another second, a lower second, I'd be okay with taking a second pick in the second round. I'm holding that top of the shelf second round pick for N'Keal Harry. I'm really holding on to that and hoping for the best.
Both of us are doing that,
But
sure.
I would say second round, middle to late second round would be as high as I'd want to go for a lineman, if you're sold on him.
So yeah, this is where the scouts and A-Dub and all the scouts have to really be locked into the combine, have to really be locked in, and probably have been already doing so. When the season was in, they were looking at prospects, but they have to really be locked in, and because it's really hard. It's really hard to judge or project what an offensive lineman is going to look like coming out of the college game into the pro game.
Right.
Because they're going to need, it's not going to be instant. You're going to need a few years to develop a guy.
Yeah, and the blocking schemes for the spread offense versus an NFL, it's just totally different.
Totally.
And not to mention the guys that you're facing in the NFL are just absolute monsters.
Exactly.
So, I mean, I'm okay with getting free agent linemen. They just have to be the right mix of prove it to me and stay healthy. It has to be the right mix.
But offensive linemen, particularly your left tackle guards, they don't come available. The good ones don't come available.
Not typically, no.
So who's out there? Who's out there right now? I saw a post on Facebook. I don't forgot who it was that posted it. That the New England Patriots offensive lineman, number 77. What's his name? I can't.
He's available.
Yeah, he's available. Solid guy.
Mm-hmm.
Solid guy. Really looks like, hey, that's a potential. Hey, he's played for the Patriots.
Trenton Brown, 26.
Guy, other than him, I don't see that. Oh, we got to get that guy. Like we're trying to go get Mosley for the linebacking core. I don't see that offensive lineman that we say that's going to be the guy to get us over the hump and get us, to the next level.
It's just like the worst possible scenario of talent just kind of floating around. But looking right now, a lot of these guys aren't that old. Now, I say that because a lot of them are around my age, and I want to make myself feel better. But they're all around my age, and that doesn't make me feel too bad about the outlook of it. You got some guys here that could make a good roster if you put them all together. I think the question all stems too on is how Keim feels about Shipley or Cole being center. Because once he makes that choice, if he says Shipley center, then Cole is guard. If he says Cole is center, Shipley's not guard.
Exactly.
We know what happens with that situation.
Right.
So now we have essentially 4 holes to fill, and you're saying you can't get rid of Humphreys yet, so he's going to stay. So you got 3 holes to fill.
Mm-hmm.
2 of them are guards and one's a right tackle.
Wow.
That's a mess. So I think you're forced to say Shipley's center, Cole's guard, a.k.a. backup center. And now you've got 2 holes to fill. So you're looking right tackle, left guard.
Right.
Or right guard if you want Cole in the left guard. But probably
I kind
right
of think Cole is kind of built where he can be moved around.
He can be. He's not like the
He's
Earl
strong.
Watford. He's not the Swiss Army
get in
knife.
the weight room and get stronger. I think he can move around and be a guard, or because Shipley's, like you just said, if you don't keep him, he's got to be the center. I mean, what else is he going to do? So I think Cole's built for that. So my question mark, and it's going to always, I know it's probably going to be the question mark. Of course, we already know the first question mark is getting a guy to come in here and be, a guy that's going to, contribute consistently.
Right.
But my guy, DJ, is the question mark.
Unfortunately, yes.
He is the big time question mark. He is Josh's, was blind side. He's everything.
Yeah.
He's everything. And if he doesn't come back and get back into form or get where he's supposed to be in form or what we think he's supposed to look like, then this offensive line pretty much don't have a chance. And Josh doesn't have a chance.
Part of me is hopeful that a new offensive scheme is going to help alleviate some of these issues. Not having a Sam Bradford stare down one receiver for his whole life. Not having such a predictable run game. I think some of these things will, if you can get the defense on their heels just a little bit, it buys you that half second of time that Josh needs to maybe take a step up and throw the ball versus taking a step right and going into another defender that's right around the corner. I think those things can kind of help. Scheme will help this a little bit. I mean, if you looked at BA's mashed up offensive line over the years that he was there, he found creative ways to alleviate it enough to keep our quarterbacks alive. And he had a lot of injuries that he had to deal with, and I'm not saying it was perfect. It was definitely imperfect, but he handled it way differently than it was last year. Last year it was like, we're dead in the water versus BA's there, we got a chance. He'll figure something out.
Right.
So I'm hoping it's this giant blend of scheme, getting the right blend of guys that are going to stay healthy and that can prove it because it's such a wash of a free agency / draft class for this position. So I think you're just going to look to fill the two and hope for the best.
Yeah.
So he finds those two. I think that can help the fans, but you won't know that until, let's say, week 10. If they're all together and it's the same line for 10 weeks, okay, Keim did a good job with the offensive line the first time.
When was the last time this team had that?
A long time.
Offensive line to last for 10 weeks.
It's been a very long time.
Every year the offensive line is drop a piece here, there, drop a piece there for a few weeks, drop another piece for the whole season, and all these pieces getting filled in all left and right.
I want to say BA's first or second year was a pretty solid O-line where we only lost like one for the season, and I think it was Upati. So I want to say it wasn't perfect, obviously, but that was one of the last times I can remember.
And Carson took a beating.
Of course.
He's just a veteran that knew how to get rid of the ball, but he still took a beating.
Of course.
But we never really had a dominant offensive line. And I know that's something that's going to take time to do. That's not an overnight thing. But is Rosen the quarterback, I guess, in Kingsbury's system that's going to be able to get the ball out, on time and where it's supposed to go, making reads as fast as he's going to have to do it with a offensive line that's kind of building itself up and trying to get to the point where they can block for him.
And that's the big question now is because a lot of people are already looking at Rosen and saying he's not going to fit Kingsbury's system, but I think a lot of people are already fed that idea because Kingsbury commented on a quarterback before even having the job.
Right.
So, I'm not going to short credit any of Rosen's ability or Kingsbury's ability to make the two work.
Right.
If Steve Wilkes can be excited for a Josh Rosen, why can't Kingsbury?
Right. And to that point, everybody's been being fed the idea that he needs a Kyler Murray in his offense. But that's not necessarily true because when you think back, he didn't have that type of mobile guy that was that, mobile running around all over the field. He didn't have Mahomes wasn't that type of guy. Mahomes was a pocket passer.
Yeah. He could move.
He can move, yeah, and Josh can move.
I wouldn't say Josh couldn't
when
move.
He needs to get out.
Mm-hmm.
We don't. Just to say that we need a Kyler Murray in his offense is not. Kingsbury himself already said no. That's not the case. That I need that one particular guy. He can make that offense work with any quarterback.
Yep.
So why are we so quick to give up on the guy we thought was going to be our franchise quarterback? Why we're so quick because it didn't work last year. It just looked horrible last year. He was the worst quarterback of all the draft choice. all the draft picks that came out, draft class. But one quarterback being a rookie is not going to make the difference of why that dang team looked that bad.
Right.
You got to have an account for offensive line number one. Where the hell was David Johnson at? No receivers, and a Swiss cheese defense. I mean,
yeah, it was a perfect storm of bad scenarios.
How is he going to shine? So let's give this kid a chance. Now let's jump on the Kyler Murray thing, because I am so sick of hearing about it.
I see it every day on the Arizona Sports Fanatics Facebook group.
We should go get for what? Why? Answer that question. Why? Because he's the hype. Because he's the hype of the draft right now.
Yeah, he's the shiny toy.
Exactly.
I've got a tweet here from Nate Davis by Nate Davis. Draft eligible quarterbacks as graded by Move the Sticks since 2018. 1 was Sam Darnold. 2 was Josh Rosen. 3 Baker Mayfield. So just hear those 3 and hear that order. Then tied for 4th is Kyler Murray and Josh Allen. 6 is Dwayne Haskins, and 7 is Lamar Jackson.
Wow. Okay.
So you think at the grades since 2018, Move the Sticks had Lamar Jackson all the way at the bottom, and he showed a lot of good flashes with Baltimore. Sam Darnold didn't necessarily show a lot of good things with the Jets, in my opinion. Baker showed more than was graded.
Right.
And you're looking at this list, and you're like, what do I do with this?
Exactly.
No one knows what to do with this.
How did they move the sticks?
Move the Sticks is the name of the organization that was grading these players.
Oh, okay. I thought you meant they were getting graded on being able to move the ball to get first downs or moving the sticks.
No,
I was about to say, because if that's the case, that ain't saying much.
It's Daniel Jeremiah. He's a former scout.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Yeah,
My bad.
No, you're good.
Okay, I thought you were talking about moving the ball. Okay, so they're just grading these guys out overall.
Yep.
Well, man.
And right now he retweeted that Kyler Murray would go 14th.
I think that's about where he would fit. I mean, personally, I do. I think that's the perfect spot for him, mid first round.
Yeah.
And it's not, to me, it has nothing to do with his height.
No, I think he'll be well, given the right situation, he could be a decent quarterback. You have to say that because you throw him in the Cardinals with this offensive line, it's not going to be any better than if you put Rosen there.
It's going to get worse.
Look at what happened to the Seahawks. Russell Wilson is running for his life.
How does that correct it? Oh, let's start all over with another rookie quarterback that has a learning curve in his first year and have to figure it out in his first year. And then no offensive line. I mean, come on, that doesn't even make sense.
Yeah, I mean, you're better doubling down with this pick and just stockpiling as much as you can to make a run and gun effort at it. We keep talking about Steve Keim and his ability to, I don't know, save his seat or cool his seat off. There's one more thing that I want your opinion on, and I know we talked about it before, but it's something that still hasn't necessarily died because nothing still has happened yet. What about Antonio Brown? Do you think that would save Steve Keim's seat? Depending on the price, of course, but do you think that would save his seat? Because I don't think that the Steelers are in this like name your price type of thing. They can't name their price right now.
I think that would save his seats from a fan's perspective.
Right.
But it's not going to save his seat from an on-field perspective because you still need him to have a chemistry with his quarterback and his quarterback to have time to get that guy the ball. Then you have to have chemistry within the locker room, period. Antonio Brown is not going to come in here and go, oh, I'll be number 2 behind Fitz.
Oh,
He's
no
not
one's
going to do that.
No one's thinking that. I don't even think Fitz would be thinking
you know what?
that.
I'm 1 and Fitz is 2. How is he going to do that? How is he going to just come in and claim number 1? Do you know he's going to want to do that? He's not going to bow down and be a number 2. He already had that problem with Schuster over there coming up the ranks, and he's getting too high, so I gotta beat this guy down, so I'm the number 1
Yeah,
guy.
but do you think that would happen with Larry though?
No, I know it won't happen with Larry, but my point is Brown wouldn't want to come here knowing that he would have to have that battle with Larry this year.
See, I don't think it would be a battle though. I think it would be. I think it would be a natural passing of the guard, if you will. This isn't like a young guy coming up on a kind of young guy. This is This is one of the greatest wide receivers that have ever played saying, hey, kid, let me help you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you can get all the targets. I'm cool doing these routes. I'm cool being the number 2 because I'm still going to do what's best for the team, and I'm still going to show up in clutch, and I'm still going to do my things. I think it would actually be a very positive experience. I think
a number 1 receiver has to be number 1 on the field and off the field and in practice and in meetings and in whatever you name, whatever a number 1 has to show examples by.
What mentorship has AB had, though?
He can show up to practice when he gets ready to. He can show up to meet when he don't want to. That Fitz would never, ever do those type of things.
Absolutely.
This guy would have to come in, and you would have to be almost like, oh, you want me to be be mentored by Fitzgerald, and I'm a superstar already? It's an ego thing with this guy. I'm telling you.
I know it is. I'm not saying it's gonna happen. I'm saying, what better scenario?
I'll be on board. I'll be like, okay, let's see what happens. But
what better scenario though?
Work for him, for Brown personally, because he has so many things he have to go that he has to sacrifice coming here.
He has to humble himself. But what better guy to learn from? What better guy to learn from?
Listen to his quotes and whoever team is out there wants a superstar, I'm the best. That doesn't sound like he's going to mess with Fitz.
Of course not. But has he ever had an actual role model in his life to actually put his arm around him and say, dude,
true,
shut your mouth?
Because he want that. He probably thinks, I don't need that, man. You know who I am? I'm Tony. I'm AB, man. What
you want to play 16 years in the NFL? You want to play 10?
Well, being young as he is right now, he doesn't have that maturity right now. You know that.
And that's why I'm saying it could be the right time.
He's not seeing that part yet. All he sees is, I am the man. And when I come to your team, I'm going to be the man. That's all he knows. So Fitzgerald, that's going to be a clash at some point if he comes here.
I think it could be. But I think if he's going anywhere that would, 1, be competitive, 2, be actually the best for his career outlook overall, yeah, I would go get mentored by the best of the best.
Okay.
Like, I would humble myself.
Let's switch gears on that. Okay. Take the Fitz factor out.
Okay.
Take the Fitz factor out. Now, he had a Super Bowl winning quarterback in Pittsburgh that gets him the ball in clutch time. When he gets the ball, when he needs the ball, he's gotten the ball's thrown his way. Now he's going to have a second-year guy still learning something. How is he going to mess with that? How is he going to? Is he going to be like a T.O. coming back to the huddle? Hey, I was open, man. Just throw it up, and become a distraction in that aspect. The guy's a diva. He's the type of guy that wants to shine. And I'm gonna tell you, I agree with having those type of guys sometime on your team because you need that type of guy sometime.
Right.
Somebody that's not afraid to go out there and say, hey, look, we got to step it up and win this game and just get me the ball and I'll get us there. I get that. But for a young quarterback like a Josh Rosen, and you got a guy yapping in your ear, I don't know, man. I don't know.
Okay. Do you think Josh Rosen has resolve? Do you think he's mentally tough?
Yes.
All right, then it's not going to matter.
I definitely think that, yes.
It's not going to matter. I mean, we already know he can control the huddle.
Okay.
I say throw it on his plate. Why not? I'd rather say that we took a chance at it.
Right.
And if it didn't work, it didn't work. I mean, you give him a 1-year prove it deal. You just restructure him when you do the trade, but yeah, give it a shot.
Well, I definitely would not be one that would be like, oh, why'd they get that guy if they got him? I mean,
well, of course, no. You probably buy the jersey, the first one.
Like, hey, okay, let's see how this thing's gonna go. But there's just too many.
You take your John Brown jersey and then duct tape an 84 over it, and you'd be fine. You wouldn't even blink twice.
Real quick, we see in the talks about the Cardinals as well. We see J.J. Nelson and Dayon Buchanan may be likely not coming back, or can be going into free agency and can be picked up. I don't know how JJ could be there, but I know Dayon could probably attract some attention.
Well, teams need a number 3 wide receiver, and JJ can be that guy.
Teams need a number 4 wide receiver. What you say?
I said 3, but 4 makes sense too. Hate to clown on JJ, but it's hard to have a market when you can't catch, and unfortunately that's what he's in.
Catchy, they kind of go together.
Yeah. Dayon leaving, I find that really tough to swallow. I think I think they're going to find a way. I leaning with my gut, I feel like on defense, Marcus Golden's more primed to leave than Dayon is.
Oh, yes. That's probably true. Yes.
Because I think the Cardinals know Dayon's capabilities more than anybody with this whole weird hybrid position. Keim and Bidwell kind of know where he fits and can help the defense mold around that and deal with that.
Right.
Whereas if he goes to a different team, it's like, okay, what are you actually capable of? And he might just be in the same situation where Wilkes didn't really know what to do with him, or it was too stubborn to do anything with him.
But you make that Mosley pick. You take Mosley off that free agency, then both those guys could be gone because Brooks Reed could be your backup, and Mosley's going to come in and be the man. He's not going to come in there and be behind nobody.
Right.
So, yeah, you get that Mosley, then both Dayon and
Golden could be
Junkyard
gone,
would be
yeah.
gone. So
You could, but
we'll see.
the saving grace could be keeping Dayon in as more of a safety hybrid. But
Yeah, but would he be a starter? And, you know, Dayon's been sitting on that dang bench rotting away last year. He's
Right.
not going to want to sit on the bench again behind nobody.
well, hey, I'm all for having 3 to 4
Competition.
linebackers on the field at one point if we need to,
Right,
because it was
okay.
better than last year having 2 of them scrambling to make a tackle.
Right. But it's a lot to talk about. We got the draft stuff coming up. We're going to be digging into the combine. I'm gonna be
Combine
reaching out to
tomorrow.
my man, Emory Hunt. And you know where he comes from with all the prospects. He'll give us insight on every last prospect we want to know about. We have him come in soon down the line. And we'll get into more Cardinal talk as the combine gets going, because I'm really interested to see what Nikhil does in that combine. Really
Absolutely.
interested. Real quick, your thoughts. Robert Kraft.
Oh, man. That's a hard subject to talk about, my friend. There's no
oh man, it's a lot of stuff
a
going
lot of
on.
jokes I could make. Not enough time.
Yeah, it's a lot of stuff going on. I mean, I'm not a judge of a person, because every person's going to have some demon or have something they're dealing with at
Yeah.
some point in their life, and I don't judge that part of it. I judge how stupid people can be.
Yeah, he's up against some very stiff laws, if you know what I mean.
You are a billionaire, and you got to go to a strip mall for that type of thing when you can easily spend $300, $400, $500, put somebody up in a freaking hotel, and you done with. I mean, really?
Maybe it was just convenient parking. Who knows? I mean, you said you weren't going to judge the guy. It's convenient parking or something. Maybe there was a Dutch Bros nearby, and he likes to have his coffee with. Who knows, man?
That part of it, you just have to look out for yourself, man. People, you have to look out for yourself. I mean, from when you think about it, the word is there's a bigger name out there that's on the list. The word is there's a bigger name. So maybe that bigger name, somebody told this guy about this place.
No, of course. It was word of mouth.
He doesn't look like the type of guy to just go find a spot. No, he's the type of guy to go, you know what, do you know any spots where I can go do blah, 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 blah?
No,
And
someone
told
was
him
bragging
this
about it.
spot. And that could be the big hire guy that's on this list that told him about the spot. So a lot of this stuff's going to come out. And we know when it comes out, it's going to be crazy. But
When it comes out.
this has been another edition of the Kazual Sportz Show, Facebook Live. Thank you for watching us and listening. And we will catch you next week. Sean McConnell, Earl Burnett. Look us up on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, all under KazualSportz.com. That's KAZUAL with the Z at the end of sports. That's the tab for all of our social media outlets. And, of course, follow us on our website or subscribe to us on our website at www.ksrnaz.com. It's your Kazual Sportz Radio Network. And from Sean and Earl, we will see you or talk to you and have you listen to us hopefully next week. We gone.
We gone. Keep your hands to yourself, Kraft.
Don't feed me no lines.